Are you an entrepreneur that specializes in personal development or holistic sciences? Are you an author and have either a book or a course that you have created and still need help producing or publishing? And if so, then stay tuned to learn how this podcast can benefit you. If you are looking to produce a book or an audiobook and it's your first time, you're going to need a lot of guidance, and it will most likely take more time than you anticipated. Sorry for the bad news. You will want to also find the perfect audiobook narrator to bring your story to life versus trying to do it all on your own or paying for an AI narrator. Besides, AI won't publish or help you produce your book or your audiobook on Audible. So have you thought about doing an audiobook version if you have a written book? You will also want to publish it in audiobook format. And you might also want or even need the help from a professional who has the experience, who knows what they're doing with professional voice narration to help you with your book or with marketing ads or with whatever other needs you might have. And surprisingly, it's actually a lot more affordable than you might think. Well, today we are meeting with the talented Brenda Robinson, who is a versatile professional voiceover artist. Brenda, can you name some other examples that people might want to consider before publishing or writing a book?
Okay, first of all, examples such as, do I want to do it myself? Is this something that I feel like I can handle, that I'm the only one that can convey the emotion I want? Or do I want to pay someone who's trained to do that for me, who's also on the same page, understands my feelings, what I want to project with my book, and put it out there without me having to deal with that part.
And do they also have the professional recording software, right? Or a studio booth to record it? All of those things to consider.
Right. And I mean, think about it this way. If you want to have something fixed in your home, there's the do-it-yourselfers. And sometimes that can be a really good way to do things if you know what you're doing. But other times, a bigger project, you may want to hire a contractor or, you know what I mean, a person who's going to help you remodel your home or something, for instance. And you'd rather pay them to do it and just tell them what you'd like, and you work together that way.
Right. And know that they're professional. They know just what they need to do rather than you trying to figure it out and put all the time and money into learning how to do it and then trying to do it yourself.
Exactly. So it's really up to the person, and it, you know, think about the pros and cons and the project at hand and then go from there.
And oftentimes it could even cost more when we do it ourselves because it isn't done properly, right? So the key to selecting an ideal book narrator and whether or not an author should narrate their own book, or should the audiobook narrator sound like the original author? We're going to cover all of these subjects and more. Brenda has been narrating one of our books. It's Recoding Our Subconscious Beliefs, a guide to genetic recoding. So I'm going to ask Brenda a couple of questions about the book, and then we're going to cover a lot more about the audiobook and narrating and whether or not that is the right direction for you. So if you could, first of all, Brenda, would you please just give us your thoughts or feedback on how to genetically recode subconscious beliefs and your experience with that?
So my feelings about the book in general?
Please.
How I liked it. This is something I've always been interested in. Well, this is a small part of a bigger umbrella, as you will. So I've always been interested in our subconscious mind and what it leads us to do, and our feelings and thoughts, and why we have those feelings and thoughts. Some of them don't work for us, but we would like to change them. So that was very interesting. And this really gave me a lot of information, just narrating this.
Yeah, you know, and Brenda, that's actually one reason why I felt like you were very well aligned, is because the genre of the books and our ebooks fall under epigenetics, belief recoding, subconscious reprogramming and repatterning, also healing relationship patterns, higher conscious living. We specialize in holistic psychology and and therapy. So we have some workbooks all within that vein. And so this is one reason why you are also an excellent fit, is because it is something that you are passionate about, as well as being a life coach that covers some of those subjects in your field as well. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting niche that you are not only a voice actress, but you also are a voice actress in the industry of personal development. So can you share maybe what, perhaps any value that you gained from the audiobook?
The value I got, I kind of already hinged on it, but to elaborate, was that it really helped me understand where some of my old, let's just say, ideas came from, whether I liked them or not, some of those beliefs and triggers that I had. We all have triggers, and sometimes they can lead us to do things that maybe don't come out very well to other people or even ourselves. And we're like, oh, why did I react that way? But then it just helped me to get through some of those that I'd already thought I'd finished with and really get to the very core, let's say. But it's only the tip of the iceberg, really, what we're talking about right now.
Absolutely. Just helping to guide people through those blind spots, I think, as well as identifying what those unhealed triggers are, so that we can heal not only the emotional aspects of it, but just to also repattern the programming, right? So would you say the biggest takeaway is being able to unpack the subconscious programming so that you can therefore recode it?
Yeah, so you can start over. Think about a computer. We all work on computers at some point. And whether they're a personal computer laptop or a little device like our phones, or I use other devices at times, we have to erase that. It's like erasing our brain of all these old misconceptions or issues that are not helping. And there's some good ones, but that's another part to the story. But we can recode them. And I love that part.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the feedback. So would you recommend the book to others, or who would you think that could benefit from this book that you did help with the audio recording?
Gosh, I would recommend it to anybody and everybody who has felt like they're still dealing with some stuff, the old stuff, the baggage, whatever. Now, there's many good programs out there, I'll say that, because I've worked on things before for myself. However, this just kind of adds a layer, and I feel like it is quicker and more efficient, and yet it does the job. So it doesn't have to necessarily be long and awful to do the job, as long as you're doing it in the right way, in the right steps.
Oh, yep, absolutely. I think that's probably the best way to really identify or define what you're getting from the book, is getting to that core root cause, so that we don't have to just do the layers. It's getting into the deeper level work, so that we are addressing the point of the origin. Thank you for sharing that. And I would like to know, even for our audience, what would you love to offer for your professional goals? What are your professional goals for our other personal development enthusiasts and entrepreneurs? What are you passionate about?
Well, I enjoy many types of voiceover. This is one genre that I've really focused on recently, and I'm happy about that, and I want to do more. However, I do commercial work, e-learning, which is similar, e-learning. There's so many types of narration. There's documentary. I'd like to do more of that, and I do. And animation. I've done a little animation character work. So there's a lot of types of work that way in the voiceover arena. But I also am a coach, a life coach, and I work with self-discovery, and creatives can use this too. Anybody in the creative fields.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one reason why we wanted to hire you, is because we heard your wonderful samples, and I thought, man, this woman is really talented. I would never guess this was all from the same voice. So your passions is not only a voiceover artist, but also passionate about life coaching in this particular arena. I loved that, as it will oftentimes when I'm listening to audiobooks, the AI narrator can be quite monotone, and maybe some other voiceover actors. It just sounds, when we have a bot doing our work, there's grammatical errors and they're incorrect pronunciations. So a lot of our book was not properly, using the proper outline. And it's versus a live expert with the voice acting experience to convey not only the various characters and emotions, but the desirable voice inflections accordingly. So it was great working with you. And I really have been very pleased.
Well, thank you so much. I have too. It's been a real pleasure. And I've learned a lot for both ends of the spectrum. I mean, I've learned a lot for my life coaching, which I want to help others learn about this, along with other things that I teach about that go well together, which is why I wanted to work with you and Corinne, as well as my voiceover to add the mental health and this type of work to that genre to my puzzle, as you would say. And so anybody who's looking for that.
Well, I want to continue to work with you and continue to collaborate together. So thank you so much, Brenda.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Brenda, you mentioned that, you work with e-learning, ebooks, documentaries, you've done animations. What are some of the different types of services that you provide so people can be aware of, as a voiceover artist, as a voice actor, the different types of things they can hire a voice actor for?
Well, everybody's different. There's some nowadays, they do everything themselves pretty much. You might have an engineer, you will go into a studio at times and the engineer will do it for you, certain things as far as the audio and all of that. And some voice actors prefer that, but a lot of us have our own home studios and have for several years now. And we've had to learn how to edit and master. And I don't choose to do all of that. I do edit, I do basic edits. I also can add music sometimes. Make sure it's copyrighted. I also sing, and jingles are a whole different genre, but I sing. I'm a singer and I've taught that. So I can incorporate that. So yeah, a lot of these I haven't been able to do as much as I'd like. I really want to do more documentaries. So maybe there's that in the future of this.
Right.
That's
fascinating. You're talking about the singing, doing the jingles. So marketing ads, commercials, that type of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Super exciting. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's incredible. And your voice just really is so animated. So I love the talent that you have and that versatility. But here are some things to consider when selecting the perfect audiobook narrator. For instance, experience. As we know, experienced narrators can provide the high quality reading without background noise, interruptions, or errors. And they also understand the audiobook industry well and know how to deliver a professional product. The narrator's voice is critical, as we all know, because we don't want snoring, right? We want to be able to feel as if we can connect with the narrator and understand that it would be best if we make sure that the voice suits the tone and style of our book. So the voice actor must be able to create different characters and convey emotions and moods, such as Brenda with her best delivery. So your delivery is well on this point. And you always want to sample first to determine if it's congruent with your goals and the book that you're publishing. This will give you an idea of their tone, style, and professionalism. And many professional audiobook narrators have a home studio, which means they can record the audiobook anytime. The price range could be per finished hour or royalty share. Decide whether to pay by the finished hour rate or share the royalties with the narrator after publishing the audiobook. So paying per finished hour is a common practice in the industry and may attract more experienced narrators, such as our professional here. And the recording studio software is imperative, as we all have learned in our experiences. So make sure the narrator has the appropriate recording software to ensure high quality recordings, as well as a sound floor in their studio, in their sound studio. And then ACX is an Amazon-owned platform that offers audiobook production and distribution services, including Audible. So Brenda is a narrator for ACX. Okay, last but not least, should an author narrate their book, or should the audiobook narrator sound like the original author? Most,
Oh,
yeah, what are your thoughts?
oh, I didn't know if you were asking me or.
Yeah, I want to
I
know. I'm curious.
Again, it just depends on what they would rather do. Now, if they feel like, hey, I know this area better than anyone, I'm
Yeah.
going to do it myself, especially if they are a voice actor author, because some
Sure.
voice actors write books.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want someone different. Like you want someone else to do your hairstylist. Maybe
Mhm.
it's easier to have someone else do your hair, cut it especially, even if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I would look at
Yeah.
that. And also just talk to people, find out and see what kind of
Yeah.
a map.
Yeah. I think it goes back to your contractor analogy, right? So
I have a lot of analogies.
yeah, if the author's fully equipped to do it, then they can stick to, or otherwise they can just stick to writing and leave the audiobook narration to the professionals, right? So self-published writers don't necessarily do the audiobook. We've learned that and through our trial and error experience. And I would agree that unless you already have the equipment and background experience, or even all of the time, as we know, for the trial and error, particularly those learning curves.
That's
all right,
right.
thank you. Thank you so much for your insight.
And thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
There are many things to consider, as we've discussed, before publishing a written book or an audiobook. And I had many books that I had written. I had maybe 12 out of 16 published, and this was my first audiobook. So the experiences required and the time involved in producing it is one thing to consider. And if you don't have experience, the project will cost you, like it did me. So it was quite the learning curve. I was a rookie and I had to start over and rewrite the books to get them published on Amazon and on Audible. So the book also needs to meet the ACX and Amazon standards and requirements, as well as fit their formatting, which might be completely different from whatever ebook or written book formatting that you've already created. You also need to convert it into a Kindle version if you're doing ebooks or a Kindle reader. So you'll want to keep the audiobook in mind while writing your draft, which was one of the biggest things I wish I would have done. The written version was created completely in written format, and I had to go back and rewrite and keep editing the book over and over again to prepare it for audio production. So I kept researching how to produce an audiobook, and I couldn't find any help anywhere, which was really unfortunate. So we tried doing everything on our own, and very unsuccessfully, I might add. And then we added the AI feature. So we tried that out for our audiobook. So I want to say, just don't make the same mistake and write your whole book and get it finished just to find out that you need to redo it and get it listed and published on Amazon or Audible, to also make sure it fits their formats and policies. It took an additional year with an already finished written book and published book. So it was quite a learning curve, and until we finally sought out a professional voice actor to narrate and help us produce our at least this first book. So we have many more to come. So and it was a much more affordable route than we would have thought. So Brenda, can you give us just an idea of maybe what your hourly rate is?
It depends on the book. It depends on the distribution. So
Right.
factor in that
Very.
marketing, regional, national, local. I'll just say I would usually for myself start out at about no less than 150 per finished hour. And then you have edits on top of that. But up to 300, 400. So it really depends on the length of the book. Now, for me, I like to do short to medium books, but it depends. I'm always flexible and it depends on the project.
Okay, great. I think that's great. That gives people a good ballpark figure. Of course, we know everything's going to vary. So Brenda, how do we find you? How can we be in contact with you? Do you have a website, a contact info, social media? What's the best way to reach you? I know we can find you right through the ACX and Amazon website. How are some other ways we can find you?
Oh, I'm on all the social media platforms. You can find me on my Facebook. There's a Out of the Voice box, and mostly LinkedIn, definitely, and Instagram. I'm pretty much most of those. So
Now, I know the name of your business is Out of the Voice Box. When we found you on ACX, now were you under Brenda Robinson or were you under a different name?
no, Brenda Robinson, Brennar. Sometimes I just go by Bren R. So that
Brennar.
might be in parentheses. And yes, so either or both. And yeah, so.
Okay, great. And as far as being able to reach us, we do have affiliate programs for people who might be novice writers that might need help finally getting that book published or finished, or even getting it put into Audible format where you can actually use us as a team, and Brenda could be there for you for your audiobook needs. You could find us at liberatedliving.com /contact us, or you can just use the help desk and we'll provide that link there for you. And if you would like a sample of the book, we have provided that link for you where you can find it either on Amazon or on Audible. And with Audible, you'll be able to hear a great sample of Brenda's narration for us. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for meeting with us today, Brenda.
And thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet with you too. You and Camille.
Thank you. And it's been a pleasure working with you.